I always thought sisters were supposed to have each other's backs. That's what Mom used to tell us before she passed. Anyway, but watching Angela charm her way through Grandma's funeral, I realized some backs are meant to be stabbed. My name is Kira, and this is the story of how my sister destroyed my life, and how I rebuilt it from the ashes she left behind. She would have wanted you to have this, Angela said, dangling Grandma's vintage pearl necklace in front of our relatives. The same necklace Grandma had promised me on my 16th birthday. Kira's always been more practical. She'd prefer the money, wouldn't you, little sister? I stood there, frozen, as she played her part perfectly. The caring older sister, so thoughtful, so considerate. I wanted to scream that she was lying, that Grandma had specifically promised me that necklace, but the words wouldn't come. That's so generous of you, Angela, our Aunt Carol cooed, while Dad nodded approvingly. They were all under her spell, just like always. The reading of the will a week later was when everything truly fell apart. Grandma had left her estate to be split equally between Angela and me, a substantial inheritance that would have set us both up for life, along with her collection of family heirlooms. I just don't think Kira's in the right headspace to handle this responsibility, Angela announced during the family meeting. She's been so unstable since Mom died. Remember that time she quit her job without notice? I had quit because Angela had sabotaged my relationship with my boss. But nobody knew that part. I started to protest. But Angela cut me off with a concerned look. See how defensive she gets? I'm worried about her. She turned to Dad, her eyes welling up with perfectly timed tears. Maybe I should manage both portions until she's more stable, for her own good? Dad squeezed her hand. That might be best, sweetheart. Kira, your sister only wants to help. I watched in horror as my family nodded in agreement. Even Turner, my boyfriend at the time, looked convinced. Angela's right, babe. You have been a bit emotional lately. The next few weeks were a blur of paperwork and legal documents I was pressured to sign. Angela insisted it was all temporary, just until I got back on my feet. I signed them because fighting meant losing my family entirely. I signed them because I still wanted to believe my sister loved me. Then came the Instagram post that changed everything. Starting my new life in Paris. Sometimes you have to chase your dreams. Titi, blessed seek your new beginnings. I stared at my phone, my hands shaking. There she was, champagne glass in hand, standing in front of the Eiffel Tower. She'd emptied the accounts, taken everything. The money, the heirlooms, even Grandma's pearls, all gone. When I called Dad in a panic, his response cut deeper than Angela's theft. She says you agreed to this, Kira, that you wanted her to invest the money for both of you. She's always been better with finances. Dad, she's stolen everything. How can you not see what she's doing? His sigh was heavy with disappointment. I think you need help, sweetheart. This paranoia isn't healthy. I hung up and collapsed onto my kitchen floor, the cold tiles pressing against my forehead as I tried to breathe. My phone buzzed with a text from Turner. I think we need a break. Your family drama is too much right now. Later that night, as I sat in my apartment surrounded by unpaid bills I could have easily handled with my inheritance, my phone lit up with another Instagram notification. Angela, dining at some fancy restaurant, wearing Grandma's pearls. The caption read, "Family is everything, missing my baby sister. Saksh, blessed Falfrash, family first." I threw my phone across the room, watching it shatter against the wall. In that moment, something inside me shattered too. My naivety, maybe, or the last traces of the little sister who used to worship her big sister Angela. As I swept up the broken pieces of my phone, I made a promise to myself. This wouldn't break me. Angela had taken everything else, but she couldn't take my determination to survive, to thrive. I just didn't know then how sweet that survival would taste when karma finally came knocking on my door, wearing designer heels and carrying a Louis Vuitton suitcase full of desperation. But we'll get to that part later. First, I had to learn how to stand on my own 2 feet in a world where the person who was supposed to lift me up had instead chosen to bury me alive. You're seriously living off ramen noodles. Giselle stood in my tiny studio apartment, hands on her hips, surveying the stack of instant noodle packages on my counter. Girl, this has got to stop. I was hunched over my laptop, scrolling through job listings. It's not that bad. They're actually pretty good with an egg mixed in. Nope. Get dressed. We're going to dinner. And I'm not taking no for an answer. That was Giselle, my best friend since college, and the only person who stuck around after Angela's grand theft. While everyone else bought into my sister's poor, unstable Kira narrative, Giselle saw through the act. Over plates of pad thai at our favorite hole-in-the-wall restaurant, she laid out her plan. My company's hiring for an entry-level marketing position. The pay's decent, and there's room for growth. Marketing. I pushed my food around the plate. Angela always said I'd be terrible at that. Too shy, too awkward. Angela's full of shit. Giselle cut in sharply. Remember that fundraiser you organized in college? You killed it. Stop letting her voice live in your head rent-free. She was right. Angela had always had opinions about my career choices, steering me away from anything she considered her territory. Marketing had been one of them. The next morning, I put on my only professional outfit, a black blazer and pencil skirt I'd bought for Grandma's funeral, and walked into the interview. My hands were shaking, but my voice wasn't. 2 weeks later, I started my new job. Welcome to Horizon Marketing, Fatima, my supervisor, said warmly. Let's get you settled in. The work was challenging, but I threw myself into it. Every time I felt like giving up, I'd picture Angela's smug face on Instagram, still posting about her fabulous European adventure with my money. It fueled me. 3 months in, I landed my first client. 6 months in, I got a raise. The ramen noodles were replaced with real groceries, and I started putting away a small amount of savings each month. Look at you, marketing queen, Giselle cheered one night over wine. Remember when you couldn't even afford happy hour? I was about to respond when my phone buzzed. The name on the screen made my stomach drop. Turner. Ignore it, Giselle advised, reaching for my phone. But I'd already answered. Hello. Kira. His voice was hesitant. I saw you on LinkedIn. Congratulations on the promotion. Thanks. My voice was ice. Was that all? No, I've been thinking about everything that happened. I should have believed you about Angela. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Funny how everyone's starting to say that now. Can we meet? Just to talk? I feel terrible about how things ended. Giselle was making frantic hang-up gestures across the table. I'm seeing someone, I lied smoothly. And I'm doing great, Turner. Really great. Without you, without Angela, without anyone who chose not to believe me. After I hung up, Giselle raised her glass. Now that's the Kira I've been waiting to see. But later that night, alone in my apartment, a new one, small, but Angela-free, I allowed myself to cry. Not because I missed Turner, but because I was finally starting to recognize my own strength. My phone pinged with a notification. Another Instagram post from Angela, but something was different. The smile seemed forced. The designer outfit had been posted before, and the location tag was mysteriously absent. Living my best life, Faktusak blessed luxury lifestyle. I zoomed in on her face. The makeup was heavy, but couldn't quite hide the dark circles under her eyes. Well, I murmured, screenshotting the post. Looks like someone's perfect life might not be so perfect after all. My doorbell rang, startling me. It was nearly midnight, too late for visitors. Through the peephole, I saw Giselle, holding a folder. You need to see this, she said, as I opened the door. Remember my cousin, who works at that fancy hotel in Paris? She just sent me some interesting information about our dear Angela. I took the folder, my heart racing. Maybe karma wasn't just a nice idea after all. Maybe it was about to become my favorite word. But first, I needed to decide. Did I want to watch my sister's carefully constructed house of cards collapse on its own? Or did I want to be the one to blow it down? Looking at the folder in my hands, I smiled. For the first time since Angela left, it felt like I had choices. And this time, I wouldn't be the one getting burned. The photos in Giselle's folder told a story Angela's Instagram followers would never see. My sister arguing with hotel staff, Angela being escorted out of luxury boutiques, a series of bounce checks from increasingly cheaper hotels. She's burning through the money faster than a California wildfire, Giselle said, pointing to the dates. And that's not all. Look at this. The last photo showed Angela leaving a pawn shop, clutching a familiar velvet box, Grandma's pearls. Before I could process this, my phone rang. Dad's name flashed on the screen. Kira. His voice sounded older, tired. Do you have a minute? Depends. Are you calling to defend Angela again? No, he cleared his throat. I owe you an apology, a big one. I sat down hard on my couch, Giselle squeezing my free hand in support. I got a call from the bank, Dad continued, about some irregularities with Angela's power of attorney documents. They're saying some signatures might have been forged. You don't say, I replied dryly. I should have listened to you. I should have. His voice cracked. Can I come see you, please? 20 minutes later, he was at my door, looking smaller than I remembered. His eyes took in my new apartment, lingering on the wall of achievement certificates from work. Marketing, he said, reading one of them. But Angela always said. Angela says a lot of things, Dad. Most of them aren't true. He sank into my armchair, head in his hands. I've been such a fool. Your Aunt Carol called yesterday. She ran into Angela's old roommate from Paris. Apparently, Angela was asked to leave their apartment months ago. Something about stolen jewelry and unpaid rent. And let me guess, now nobody can reach her? He nodded miserably. Her phone's disconnected. Her last Instagram post was 2 weeks ago. I keep thinking about what you tried to tell me. Stop, I cut him off. I don't need your guilt right now. What I needed was your support back then. I know. He pulled out an envelope. I've been saving. It's not much, but it's a start toward what you should have inherited. I stared at the envelope. 6 months ago, I would have grabbed it desperately. Now, keep it, I said. I'm doing fine on my own. His eyes welled up. You are, aren't you, despite everything I did? Giselle, who'd been quietly observing, spoke up. Mr. Sutton, Kira has a meeting early tomorrow. Maybe we should wrap this up. Dad stood, understanding the dismissal. At the door, he turned back. If you hear from her, will you let me know she's okay? Sure, Dad. I managed a small smile. But I'm not the sister you need to worry about anymore. After he left, Giselle poured us both a glass of wine. You okay? Better than okay. I pulled out my laptop. Help me track down Angela's old roommate. I want to hear exactly what happened in Paris. 3 days and several international phone calls later, we had our answer. Angela's European dream had crumbled months ago. The inheritance money was gone, spent on luxury hotels, designer clothes, and what her roommate described as a gambling problem that got way out of hand. She borrowed money from some scary people, the roommate told me. Then one night, she just disappeared, left all her stuff behind. I was about to close my laptop when an email notification popped up. The subject line made my blood freeze. Little sister, I need your help. Don't open it, Giselle warned, but I already had. I know I don't deserve your help, but I'm in trouble. Real trouble. You're the only one I can trust. Please don't tell Dad, but I'm back in the town. Can we meet? I'll explain everything. Delete it, Giselle said firmly. After everything she did. Wait. I stared at the screen. A plan forming. Maybe this is exactly what we've been waiting for. Kira, no, whatever you're thinking. She took everything from me, Giselle. My inheritance, my family's trust, my dignity. I started typing a reply. Now she wants my help? Fine. But this time, we're playing by my rules. I hit send on my response. Coffee shop on 5th Street. Tomorrow at 2. Don't be late. Giselle groaned. I know that look. What are you planning? I closed my laptop with a smile. Let's just say Karma's about to get a little help from her friends. The next day, I arrived at the coffee shop early, wearing my sharpest business suit and Angela's favorite shade of red lipstick. Time to show my big sister exactly who the unstable one was now. The woman who walked into the coffee shop was barely recognizable as my sister. Gone were the designer clothes and perfectly styled hair. Angela wore wrinkled jeans and a faded sweater, her once immaculate blonde hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. Dark circles shadowed her eyes, poorly concealed by drugstore makeup. "Kira," she breathed, sliding into the seat across from me. "You look amazing." "I know." I pushed a coffee toward her. "Black, 2 sugars, unless your taste has changed along with your circumstances." Her hand shook slightly as she reached for the cup. "You always remembered how I take my coffee. Funny how I can remember things about you, but you couldn't remember basic human decency." She flinched. "I deserve that." "You deserve a lot more than that." I leaned back, crossing my legs. "But I'm curious, what kind of trouble are you in that's bad enough to bring you crawling back to your unstable little sister?" Angela glanced around nervously before leaning in. "I made some mistakes in Paris. Borrowed money from the wrong people. They followed me back here." "How much?" 50,000 euros. She stared into her coffee. "They're giving me 2 weeks to pay it back, or..." She swallowed hard. "Let's just say they were very graphic about the consequences." "And the inheritance money?" "Gone." A tear slipped down her cheek. "All of it. The gambling, the shopping. I thought I could win it back. I even sold Grandma's pearls." I took a slow sip of my latte. "And now you want my help? I know I don't deserve it." She reached across the table, but I pulled my hand away. "But you're my sister, my only family who might still help me." "That's rich, considering how you treated your only family when you had the upper hand." "I was wrong," she whispered. "So wrong, about everything. You were always the strong one, the smart one. I was just jealous." "Jealous?" I laughed sharply. "You stole my inheritance, turned our family against me, and destroyed my relationship. All because you were jealous. You had everything I wanted." Her voice cracked. "Dad's respect, Grandma's love, real friends like Giselle. I just had appearances." A waitress approached to refill our coffees. I waited until she left before responding. "And now you have nothing." Angela nodded miserably. "I'm staying at a motel off Highway 9. I can barely afford that. These men, they know where I am. They've been watching me." "Sounds scary," I said coolly. "Almost as scary as having your entire support system ripped away by someone you trusted." "Please," she whispered. "I know I can't fix what I did, but I need help. I need my sister." I stood up, smoothing my skirt. "You're right about one thing. You can't fix what you did. But lucky for you, I'm not like you. I'll help." Hope bloomed in her eyes. "Really? You can stay with me?" "Oh, Kira, thank you." "I'm not finished." I cut her off. "You'll stay with me, but on my terms. You'll get a job. Any job, even if it's cleaning toilets. Every penny you earn goes toward your debt. You'll sign a legal document giving up any remaining claim to Grandma's estate. And you'll tell Dad and the family the complete truth about everything." She paled. "But they'll hate me." "Welcome to my world." I grabbed my purse. "Those are my terms. Take them, or go back to your motel and wait for your friends to find you." Angela wiped her eyes, smearing her mascara. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay, I'll do it." "Good. Get your things and come to this address by 6. I handed her a slip of paper. "Don't be late, and don't make me regret this." As I walked toward the door, she called out, "Why are you helping me, after everything I did?" I turned back, meeting her desperate gaze, "Because watching you build yourself back up from nothing, on my terms, is going to be so much more satisfying than watching you destroy yourself." Outside, Giselle was waiting in her car. "How'd it go?" She took the bait. I buckled my seatbelt. "Call your lawyer friend. We need those documents ready by 6. Are you sure about this?" I smiled, thinking of Angela's fallen face when I laid out my terms. "Oh, I'm sure. The prodigal sister's about to learn what real karma feels like." But as we drove away, I couldn't shake the image of her trembling hands on that coffee cup. Was I really helping her, or was I just becoming a different version of her? I pushed the thought away. She made her choices. Now it was time for her to face the consequences. Under my roof, under my rules. At exactly 5:59 p.m., Angela knocked on my door, carrying a single battered suitcase and a designer handbag that had seen better days. "Your palace awaits," I said, gesturing to the small guest room. Really just an office with a fold-out couch. Bathrooms down the hall. We share. Her eyes darted around my apartment, taking in the modest furnishings. "It's nice. Amazing what honest work can buy, isn't it?" I handed her a stack of papers. "Sign these." She flipped through them slowly. A formal confession about the inheritance fraud. "Kira, if I sign this, you could go to jail?" "Yeah, that's the point. Consider it insurance against any future schemes." I tapped the papers. "Sign, or there's the door." Her hand trembled as she signed each page. "One more thing." I pulled out a basic flip phone. "Your new phone. No social media, no fancy apps, just calls and texts. But my Instagram is dead, just like your old life." I crossed my arms. "Tomorrow you start your new job." "You found me a job already. Giselle's cousin manages a cleaning service. You start at 7 a.m. The horror on her face was almost comical. "Cleaning? But I've never done an honest day's work in your life?" "I know. Time to learn." That night, I heard her crying through the thin walls. Part of me wanted to comfort her. We'd shared a room as kids, and her tears had always been my weakness. But that was before she'd betrayed me, before she'd stolen everything. The next morning, I found her struggling with the coffee maker. "Here," I said, reaching past her to press the right buttons. "Like this." "Thanks." She hesitated. "Kira, about those men. They're really dangerous. What if they find me here?" "Already handled." I poured coffee into a travel mug. "Giselle's brother's a cop. He's aware of the situation." "You thought of everything, didn't you?" "Unlike you, I plan ahead." I handed her the mug. "Your uniform's on the couch. Don't be late." She came home that night, looking shell-shocked, her uniform stained with cleaning products. "Rough day?" I asked, not looking up from my laptop. "I cleaned 11 bathrooms." She collapsed onto the couch. "My hands are raw." Builds character. The woman in 4B yelled at me because I didn't fold her toilet paper into a triangle. She laughed suddenly, a hollow sound. God, I used to be that woman. Used to be, being the operative phrase. The next few days fell into a routine. Angela would leave early, come home late, and deposit her paycheck directly into an account I'd set up for her debt. She didn't complain much. Then came Sunday dinner with Dad. "You look different," he said when Angela opened the door. "No designer clothes or fake smile," she replied quietly. "This is what rock bottom looks like, Dad." Over pasta that Angela had helped cook, another new skill she was learning. She told him everything. The forged documents, the gambling, the stolen jewelry. "I'm so ashamed," she finished, tears streaming down her face. "Of all of it. But mostly of how I treated Kira." Dad sat in stunned silence for a long moment. "I don't even know who you are anymore." "Neither do I," she whispered. "But I'm trying to find out." After he left, Angela turned to me. "Are you enjoying this, watching me humiliate myself?" "Honestly, less than I thought I would." I started clearing the dishes. "Help me with these." As we washed dishes side by side, she spoke softly. "Remember when we used to do this at Grandma's? You'd wash, I'd dry, and we'd make up stories about our future lives." "Yeah, funny how none of those stories involved you stealing my inheritance and running off to Paris." She flinched. "I deserve that." "You deserve a lot worse." I handed her a plate to dry. "But maybe you also deserve a chance to prove you can change." "Why are you really helping me, Kira? The truth this time." I thought about it as I scrubbed a particularly stubborn pot, because watching you struggle through honest work, face your mistakes, actually earn your way back, That's better than any revenge I could have planned. And the men I owe money to? We'll figure it out. But we do it my way. No shortcuts, no schemes. She nodded, carefully drying a wine glass. Thank you for not being like me. Don't thank me yet, I warned. Tomorrow you're cleaning the gym locker rooms. Her horrified expression made me smile. Maybe this wasn't the sister relationship I'd dreamed of as a kid, but it was something real, built on hard truths instead of easy lies. And watching Angela learn those truths, one bathroom at a time, that was its own kind of justice. Your sister's actually doing pretty well, Giselle's cousin, Maria, reported over lunch. Shows up on time, doesn't complain, clients like her. I nearly choked on my sandwich. Are we talking about the same Angela? 3 weeks in, and she's already got regulars requesting her. Something about her attention to detail. Of course, Angela's perfectionism was finally being put to good use. The same obsessive nature that had made her an expert at manipulation was now being channeled into spotless bathrooms and perfectly organized closets. When I got home that evening, I found Angela scrubbing our kitchen floor on her hands and knees. You know we have a mop, right? Can't get the corners properly with a mop. She sat back on her heels, wiping sweat from her forehead. Besides, I'm saving up my energy. Tomorrow's my first corporate office cleaning. The law firm? She nodded. Maria says it's a big opportunity. If they like my work, it could mean steady clients, better pay. Well, look who's becoming a responsible adult. Don't sound so surprised. She stood up, wincing. By the way, I calculated the numbers. At this rate, I can pay back about 30% of my debt in 6 months. And the other 70%. Her face fell. I'm working on it. Maybe if I pick up some weekend shifts. A sharp knock at the door cut her off. Through the peephole, I saw 2 men in expensive suits. Angela, one called out. We know you're in there. Time to talk about our money. The color drained from Angela's face. Oh God, they found me. Bathroom, I whispered, pushing her toward the hall. Lock the door. Don't come out until I call you. Once she was hidden, I opened the door, keeping the security chain on. Can I help you? The taller man smiled without warmth. We're looking for Angela, business matter. Haven't seen her in months. Not since Paris, actually. Have you tried her Instagram? Cute, the shorter one growled. Listen, we know she's staying here. Tell her she's got 3 days to pay up, or things get ugly. Is that a threat? Just business. The tall one slipped a card through the gap. Make sure she gets the message. After they left, I found Angela huddled in the bathtub, shaking. They're going to kill me, she whispered. No, they're not. I pulled out my phone. Because we're calling the police. They'll just deny everything. It's my word against theirs, and I have no proof. Actually, I smiled grimly. You do. Remember that confession you signed? The one detailing all your illegal activities in Paris, including who you borrowed money from. Her eyes widened. You knew they'd come here eventually. I told you, I plan ahead. I dialed Giselle's brother's number. Time to let the professionals handle this. 2 hours later, we sat in a police station, giving statements. Turns out, our visitors were already known to Interpol for running illegal gambling operations across Europe. We've been building a case against them, the detective explained. Your sister's statement could be very helpful. Angela looked at me. Did you plan this too? Set me up to help take them down? No, but I'm not complaining about the outcome. I handed her a tissue. Consider it your first step toward actual redemption. Later that night, as we shared a pizza on my living room floor, Angela said quietly, I found an evening job, reception at a gym. Between that and the cleaning, maybe I can pay them back faster. The police said not to worry about the debt. It was illegal anyway. Not them. She met my eyes. You, Dad, everyone I hurt. I want to make it right. Before I could respond, someone knocked on the door again. This time, when I checked the peephole, I saw a familiar face that made my stomach drop. It's Turner, I told Angela. What's he doing here? She suddenly looked guilty. I might have run into him at the gym. He might have mentioned wanting to apologize again. You didn't. He really seems sorry, Kira, and he's been helping me with job leads. And, stop, I held up my hand. Just stop. You don't get to play matchmaker, not after everything. I'm not. She sighed. I'm trying to fix things, all the things I broke. Another knock. Kira, I know you're home. Please, can we talk? I looked at Angela, then at the door, feeling the weight of choices. Trust was like a broken mirror. You could piece it back together, but you'd always see the cracks. Was I ready to risk cutting myself again? 2 minutes, I called through the door. That's all you get. As I reached for the handle, I caught Angela's reflection in the window, a small, hopeful smile playing on her lips. Maybe some things really could be fixed. Maybe some cracks were worth the risk. But first, I had a very uncomfortable conversation waiting on the other side of that door. Turner stood in my doorway, looking exactly like he had the day he'd walked away, unfairly handsome and irritatingly nervous. You cut your hair, he said. You're down to 1 minute and 50 seconds. He ran a hand through his own hair. Right. Look, I've been doing a lot of thinking. That must have been painful. I deserve that. He shifted uncomfortably. I should have believed you about Angela, about everything. Yes, you should have. I crossed my arms. Is that all? No, actually. He pulled out his phone. Remember Julia from the Paris office? She sent me something interesting. My heart skipped. Julia, the colleague who'd helped Angela set up her European bank accounts. Show her, Angela called from behind me. I turned to glare at her. You knew about this. Just watch, she said quietly. Turner played a video. It showed Angela in a Paris casino, clearly drunk, bragging loudly about how she'd tricked her family. Stupid little sister, video Angela slurred. Actually signed everything over. They all bought it. Daddy, the lawyers, even that idiot boyfriend of hers. I watched as past Angela waved around what looked like forged documents, laughing about how easy it had been. Julia recorded this the night before Angela disappeared from Paris, Turner explained. She sent it to me last week, after hearing Angela was back in town. Why now? I demanded. Why didn't you show anyone this before? Because I was a coward. He put his phone away. Because it was easier to believe Angela's lies than admit I'd been played too. But mostly because I was afraid of losing my job. Julia and I were supposed to verify all Angela's paperwork. We failed, completely. Angela stepped forward. Tell her the rest. Turner nodded. I've submitted the video to the police and the family lawyer. With this evidence, they can reverse everything. Get your inheritance back. I felt dizzy. What? The money's gone, Angela added quickly. But the legal rights, the property, Grandma's heirlooms, everything I haven't sold can be returned to you. You knew about this? I turned to Angela. For how long? A week. She looked down. Turner showed me the video at the gym. I asked him to wait. I wanted to prove I was really changing first. By cleaning toilets? By being honest, by earning trust back. She met my eyes. I didn't want you to think I was just trying to escape consequences again. I sank onto the couch, processing. So all this time, while you've been scrubbing floors, I knew there was proof of what I did. Yes, Angela sat beside me, and I knew it would come out eventually. But I needed to show you, show everyone, that I could be better, that I am better. The video doesn't change anything, Turner added, but maybe it helps set things right. I looked between them, my ex-boyfriend, who'd failed me, my sister, who'd betrayed me, both standing there offering pieces of redemption I wasn't sure I wanted anymore. Get out, I said to Turner. Kira, the videos with the police, that's good, thank you, now get out. After he left, Angela touched my arm. Are you okay? No. I stood up, pacing. Do you know what the worst part is? I was actually starting to believe you'd changed, that this was real. It is real. She grabbed my hands. The video, the inheritance, that's just legal stuff. This? She gestured around the apartment. Me, learning to be a real sister, a better person. That's real. How can I believe that? How can I believe anything? Because I'm still here. Her voice cracked. Because I could have run when those men showed up. Could have run when Turner showed me the video. But I stayed. I'm staying. Why? Because you're my sister. Because I love you. Because I finally understand what that means. I pulled my hands away. I need some air. Want company? No. I grabbed my keys. I need to think. Alone. Outside, the night air was cool on my face. My phone buzzed. Giselle, probably checking in. Another text from Turner. I ignored both. Instead, I opened my photos, scrolling back to an old picture of Angela and me as kids, matching gap-toothed grins at Grandma's house. We'd been happy then, real. My phone buzzed again. This time, it was Angela. Whatever you decide, I meant what I said. I'm not running anymore. Take all the time you need. I'll be here, probably cleaning something. Despite everything, I smiled. Maybe that was the difference. The old Angela would have chased me, manipulated me, forced a resolution on her terms. This Angela was letting me choose. And somehow, that meant more than any video confession or legal redemption ever could. I turned back toward home, toward my sister, toward whatever came next. We had a lot to figure out, but at least now we were doing it honestly. You missed a spot, I said, pointing to a dusty corner of the display case. Angela rolled her eyes, but dutifully wiped it clean. You know, when I agreed to help you open this boutique, I didn't realize you'd be such a demanding boss. Karma's funny that way. I adjusted a vintage necklace in the window display. Besides, you're not just helping, you're part owner. The bell above the door chimed as Giselle walked in, carrying coffee. The sign looks amazing. Sisters Vintage and Estate Jewelry. Very classy. Unlike that time Angela tried to pawn Grandma's pearls, I teased. Never letting that go, are you? Angela accepted a coffee from Giselle. Nope. But at least we got them back. I touched the pearls at my neck. Our first successful recovery from Angela's European adventure. The boutique had been my idea. After the legal dust settled and the inheritance was rightfully restored, I realized something. I didn't want to just take back what was mine. I wanted to build something new, something that could heal old wounds while creating something beautiful. The bell chimed again. Dad walked in, carrying a familiar wooden box. Found this in the attic, he said, setting it down carefully. Your grandmother's jewelry box. Thought it belonged here. Angela's hands trembled as she opened it. I remember this. She used to let us try everything on, tell us stories about each piece. Now we can do the same for others, I said. Help people create their own stories. Speaking of stories, Giselle interrupted. Your ex is outside looking pathetic again. I glanced out the window. Turner stood across the street, pretending to check his phone. He's been coming by every day this week, Angela said softly. Maybe. Don't. I turned away from the window. Some stories don't need sequels. Fair enough. She pulled out a small velvet pouch. Which reminds me, I have something for you. Inside was a delicate silver bracelet. One I recognized instantly. Mom's charm bracelet, I whispered. But you lost this years ago. I didn't lose it. I sold it. She looked down. In Paris, when things got bad. But I tracked it down. Took most of my savings. But, she shrugged. Some things are worth more than money. I fastened the bracelet around my wrist, the familiar charms tinkling. Thank you. Don't thank me. I'm just returning what was always yours. Dad cleared his throat. Girls, there's something else. He pulled out an envelope. Your grandmother left this with her lawyer. Instructions were to open it if you ever worked together. The letter inside was written in Grandma's elegant hand. My dearest girls, if you're reading this, you've finally learned what I always knew. You're stronger together than apart. The jewelry is just metal and stones. The real inheritance is the bond between you. Take care of it. It's worth more than all the pearls in the world. Love, Grandma. She knew, Angela said quietly. She knew we'd either destroy each other or find our way back. She bet on us finding our way back, I smiled. even when we couldn't see it ourselves. The bell chimed again. Our first real customer walked in, admiring the displays. "Welcome to Sisters," Angela and I said in unison, then laughed at our synchronization. As Angela showed the customer our collection, I watched her interact, genuine, professional, proud of her knowledge. No manipulation, no shortcuts, just honest work and earned confidence. Dad squeezed my shoulder. "Your grandmother would be proud of both of you." "Even after everything?" "Especially after everything." He nodded toward Angela. "Sometimes the longest road leads exactly where you needed to go." I touched Mom's bracelet, felt Grandma's pearls at my throat, and watched my sister, my real sister, not the facade she'd hidden behind for so long, build something honest and new. The customer left with a vintage ring and a smile. Angela turned to me, beaming. "First sale." "First of many," I corrected, ready to build this legacy the right way. Together, she held out her hand. I took it, squeezing firmly. Together. Outside, life moved on. Turner finally walked away. Somewhere in Paris, some angry men were facing justice. And here, in this small boutique filled with history and hope, two sisters who'd lost their way had finally found their path back to each other. Not through grand gestures or dramatic moments, but through small acts of trust, through honest work and earned forgiveness, through choosing every day to be better than we were yesterday. "Hey," Angela called from the back room. "Help me with these boxes." I smiled. "Coming, sis." Some revenge stories end in destruction, but sometimes, if you're lucky, they end in reconstruction instead. And that's a much better story to tell.